Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's Daf Hayomi Maseches CHULLIN Daf Ayin Hey. We begin on Ayin Hey Aleph all the way on top. Man Tana Avar Benar. So this relates back to yesterday. We had a story about a Ben Pekua, right? That's the was a fully developed 9-month full-term unborn animal discovered within the mother animal post shechita of the mother. What happens to that Ben Pekua? Does it require shechita or not? So according to our mayor, yeah, it requires shechita because it's its own thing. Fully developed, full term, too late to be covered by the mother's shechita. Whereas according to the Rabbanon in the Mishnah of yesterday, even this fully developed unborn animal is covered, is accommodated by the shechita of the mother animal, and it's mutar ba'achila. Now listen to this. We had a brisa that this Ben Pekua, which is mutar ba'achila, is considered so much a piece of his mother's flesh that he's makabel tumah. Imagine a live animal running around, and if you touch it with something which is tamei, that animal becomes tamei like a piece of flesh, like any other oichel. In fact, we had a brisa which described the process. First, it needs to go through hechsher. It has to get wet. It has to go through the pool, and then it goes into the beis hakvaros, the cemetery, becomes tamei, which is startling halacha. You have a live animal becoming tamei. Typically, live things don't become tamei except for a yidden, right, a Yisrael. But lahavdil a goy or a behema, right? There's no tumah by michayim. Says the Gemara. So, in fact, who's this? Who's the author of this halacha, of this wondrous halacha? Man Tana. Who's the Tana that dictated the halacha that we had yesterday? Avar Banar. So this Ben Pekua takes a walk through the river Hushar. That exposure to liquid makes it hechsher, makes it Hushar l'kabel tumah, susceptible to tumah. After which, if halach l'beis hakvaros, walk through a cemetery, nitmai becomes tamei. Who's speaking in this brisa? Rabbi Yechanan, it's not so simple. Meaning, even something which does not require its own shechita, as per the shita of the Rabbanon, that it's covered by the mother shechita, you can eat it without shechita, but to the extent that it's a piece of meat that it's just open to tumah, that's a very specific opinion. Rabbi Yechanan, it's Rabbi Yisrael Glili. It's his opinion only. The Sanya, and soon we're going to find that there's actually there's Beis Shammai who likewise hold tumah would apply in this type of case. Rabbi Yisrael Glili, the Sanya. Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar Eimer, he quotes Mishum Rabbi Yisrael Glili, Mitam mitumas oichlam. It's a rech hechsher. That in fact this Ben Pekua, after he experiences hechsher, exposure to liquid, he's considered like any other food item that had hechsher and can become tamei. Chacham Eimer, no. Eina mitam mitumas oichlam. There's no tumas oichlam. Tumas oichla needs to be a piece of meat. This is a live thing. After all, he's living. Physically, he's living, right? Even though halachically he's considered shechted. By the way, perhaps, to better understand the idea of Ben Pekua, while he's inside his umbilical cord, he's still connected. He's still, sustaining from the mother, even if he's fully developed. So the shechita on the mother, which terminates the life force of the mother, you can understand even medically and scientifically that the trauma impacts and somewhat has a termination effect on the unborn as well. So this whole idea of Ben Pekua isn't just like an abstract, halacha concept that the act of shechita apply. Even on a medical sense, in a biological sense, you can understand that there's some effect on the unborn as well. Okay, in any case, that's regarding achila. But regarding tumah, he's live. He's running around alive. A living being, you can't become tamei. But Rabbi Yisrael Glili disagrees. He says once it's considered halachically dead, the fact that it does not require shechita and allows you to eat it outright classifies it as oichel regarding all matters. In fact, here comes another corroborating shita regarding fish, which likewise don't require shechita, they're not lacking shechita, you just pick them out of the water, detach them from their life source. And there's a shita Beis Shammai which say that at that point, even though it's still fluttering, it has life to it, you can still throw it back in and revive it, but at that point it's classified as food. And in fact, these two shitas match, according to Rabbi Yechanan. Va'azda Rabbi Yechanan Tamei Rabbi Yechanan, who has this perspective that in a case where no shechita is required, only according to some shitas, it's classified to the extent that it's really food, regarding tumah as well. Va'azda Rabbi Yechanan Tamei, he's consistent with his statement stated elsewhere. Rabbi Yechanan, Rabbi Yisrael Lili, which is the shita we just mentioned. Beis Shammai, likewise Beis Shammai, they're both on the same track. That something which is, despite the fact that it's presenting life, it's running around alive, but since it does not require shechita, well, in the case of Ben Pekua, because it was covered by the mother shechita, in the case of fish coming up because it was pulled out of the water, and fish in general don't need shechita, so it's sort of detached at this point, that's all it needs. It's considered, classified like food, and it's makabel tumah. Rabbi Yisrael Beis Shammai Amar Davar Echad. Rabbi Yisrael Hodamar. Rabbi Yisrael we just mentioned a minute ago. Beis Shammai, where's that? It's non-dogim, fish. Meimasai mekabel tumah. At what point can tumah be activated upon them? So while they're fish in the water, they're live beings. They're connected to their life source. They're immune to tumah. But at what point does that change? Beis Shammai once they're trapped out of the water, they're not classified as food, despite the fact that they're presenting life. You know, that the Tiferes Shmuel writes, you know, you can have something, listen to this, you can have something that becomes tummy, and you can undo that tumah even without doing much to it, such as these fish. Pull them out of the water, touch something which is tummy, it becomes tummy. Says the Tiferes Yisrael, what if you toss it back into the water, reconnect it to its life source, it loses its tumah. It's back home, fully alive. Very unique scenario, very unique situation. So we asked somebody a riddle. Give me something that becomes tummy and then undoes its tumah just like that. Fish, out of the water, back in the water. No, not so quick. Mashiach Musa, they have to actually die to be makabel tumah. He says sort of in between. Once it gets to the point of no return, at the point where it can no longer live, my benai, what's the difference here? Meaning, what's Rabbi Akiva's case? You have a fluttering fish, and Rashi explains it's somewhat already dried in a critical area, so it can't revive. That will be the point of difference. According to Rabbi Akiva, that is sufficient to deem it food. According to Beis Hillel, it needs to be fully lifeless. Speaking about fish, which do not require shechita, right? What if the fish turns into a treifa? An animal which requires shechita, so we know, based on our extensive learning, that if there's any serious deficiency, a punctured intestine, a punctured lung, the animal's life force has sort of been interfered with and somewhat terminated by an interfering entity, an injury, a wound. In lieu of shechita, that renders it inedible. But a fish which never needs shechita to begin with, perhaps. What happens when it comes to treifa? Perhaps it's not going to impact it at all. Perhaps it will. It's considered slated for misa, and again, it has a din of tumah, like food. But what if the fish exhibits signs of treifa? Its intestines got punctured. Is it considered on its way to death and it's makabel tumah? Rashi says we're going like a Rabbi Akiva, who says once you get to the point of no return, a serious injury slated for misa, it's already considered food or not. Now, this question could be posed according to the opinion that says that by a treifa animal, it can still live for a long time. On the other end, this can be posed according to the opinion that by a treifa animal, it will not live for very long. Very short lifespan, 30 days, 12 months. Meaning, this question regarding a treifa fish can apply whether you hold that by a treifa animal, it can live for a long time. Yeah, maybe that's by an animal which is more durable, an animal which has a greater level of vitality, of life. So it could survive, it could, manage. But by fish, where their life force is very minimal, very flimsy. So perhaps, in this case, all agree. Once it has this treifa injury, it's considered like misa. On the other hand, even according to the opinion that by an animal treifa, it has a very short lifespan, and therefore it is considered like on the verge of death. Perhaps that's limited to a behema. The yesh b'min shchita, where shchita is required. So it's like almost the higher you are, the stronger you fall, right? So if you need shchita, and instead you got this, the animal got this severe injury, that interferes. Aval dogim, but by fish, where they're never required to have shchita. The ein b'min shchita. There's no shchita in this type of being, this type of creature. So it wasn't like he became a treifa, which terminated his life force to the extent that interferes with the shechita. There is no shechita requirement to begin with, so perhaps the treifa phenomenon doesn't play a role here. Amalei, perhaps it doesn't play a role. Take it, we'll leave it unresolved. Okay, now back to animals. So you have the ben pekua. Okay, go back to unborn, discovered within the mother animal. Now, in this Gemara we're going to speak where the mother animal was not yet shechted, because if it was, then anything inside it is covered. It's mutar b'achila. According to Chachamim, even if it's full term, right? And the chaylev is mutar, right? Because it's just all one big mush, one chunk of meat within the mother. In the following Gemara, we're going to speak that there was no shechita done on the mother. Hitila nefala, gave birth to a miscarriage. So it was undeveloped. Let's call it an 8-month versus a 9-month. What happens to the chaylev of this nafel, of this undeveloped fetus? So certainly you can't shecht it. We learned this in the Mishnah. It's an 8-month, doesn't qualify as an animal. You can't do shechita, you can't eat it. But what about the chaylev within it? Do we say it's a chaylev of a behema? Chaylev of a behema is asur. Chaylev of a chaya is mutar. What is this undeveloped nafel? Does he qualify as behema or not? Etil nafel. We have a machlekes. Rabbi Yechon Amar. Yeah, chalboy, his fat is kechaylev behema, like any chaylev of behema. If one eats it, this covers. Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish Amar says, no. This is as yet an undeveloped being. He's not going to be classified as a behema. In which case, the chaylev within it is just a conglomerate of mass. It's not a chaylev. That's asur. Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish Amar chaylev chaya. So just as a point of reference, he's calling it like chaylev chaya. It means to say that just like the chaylev of a chaya, of a deer, is mutar, the same with this chaylev. Rabbi Yechon Amar, let me explain why chaylev kechaylev behema. Why is it us? Aviru garam. The air, the exposure to the outside, once it was born, is out of the mother, makes it a behema. Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish Amar chaylev kechaylev chaya. He says it's permissible to eat this chaylev. You know why? Although he was born, so to speak, but chadashim garmi. You need the development aspect, the chadashim, the months, to render it a full-fledged being. Otherwise, he's not a behemoth. He's just a mass of mass. There's another version of this machlekes. So according to the first version, Rabbi Yechon requires avir. That's enough, even without chadashim. Whereas Rish Lakish says, no, that's not enough. You need chadashim as well. There's another version of this machlek. In a case where it's not fully developed, it's an 8-month fetus, all agree it's not going to qualify as behema. The question is, in a case where you have a full-term fetus inside, but he hasn't yet been born, so you have the development, you have the chadashim without the avir. He stuck his hand in and detached a piece of chalev from that 9-month fetus. He stuck his hand into the mother animal, and he ripped off a piece of the chalev of this 9-month and he ate. So you have the chadashim, the development aspect without the exposure. It wasn't yet born. It's also like a beima, chadashim garmi. The chadashim factor alone is sufficient to give it status. Rav Shimon Lakish Amar, no. You need both elements, development and exposure and being born. Rav Shimon Lakish Amar, chalba kechalv chaya, it's mutter like a chalba chaya, chadashim ve'avira garmi. You need the months and the years. Development and exposure. So again, if it's been discovered within a shechted animal's belly, of course it's covered. He was speaking that it wasn't shechted. The mother wasn't shechted, right? And there was a miscarriage, or he got it from the inside. Hence the machlekes. And according to Rabbi Yechanan, even this is considered chalev, and its own identity. It's chalev. Even within the mother, it's chalev. Again, if the mother had shchita, then we have a pasuk called bahema. It's included in the mother's entity. We don't regard it as a separate entity. It's not chalev. It's just part of the mass. It's mutter. Part of the general flesh mass. It's not considered, chalev of a bahema, because the unborn is sort of just part of the mother's flesh mass. But in this case, where the mother animal was not yet shechted, says Rabbi Yechon, you can't eat the chalev. Because after all, it's classified as chalev, a chalev of behema. You have a fully developed fetus in there. Says Rabbi Yechon, I have a question on you, Rish Lakish. I'll bring you a proof from a brisa that gives the notion that this type of chalev, of a shalil, of an unborn fetus, is classified as chalev. So again, although I agree that if it was discovered within the slaughtered mother's entity, it would be mutter. There's a special pasuk that it's mutter, but in terms of classification, it's classified as chalev. Let's say regarding being makriv on a mizbeach, the chalev of a carbon goes on a mizbeach. It should have that option. And that's why in the following brisa, we need a pasuk to say, no, you can't put it on the mizbeach. Otherwise, I would think you could, because after all, it's classified as chalev, which parallels my opinion, my viewpoint. But according to your viewpoint, that this is not even classified as chalev. It's just part of the general flesh mass. So why does the pasuk have to rule it out regarding putting it on the mizbeach? It's not chalev. It doesn't belong there. Okay, that's the brisa. Ma chalev v'shtei klois hamuris ba'asham. So the pasuk there is an extra pasuk. It mentions asham. What's the point of asham? Asham is always going to be a male korban. So just like by the asham, the chalev, the shtei klois, the fat, the kidneys are limited to the father animal. He has no offspring. He's a male. Mutza mechlal shlul doesn't apply to a shlul, to an unborn. It's not relevant. Avkol, likewise by other animals, other korbanos like a shlamim, which theoretically can come as female and can have offspring, can have unborn found inside, but the chalev of that unborn doesn't qualify, cannot be put on the mizbeach. Avkol, likewise other korbanos, mutza mechal shlil is exempted from the shlil. The chalev of the shlil doesn't qualify as chalev for a korban. So we need the fact that we need a special pasuk, doesn't that indicate that otherwise I would consider it chalev, which parallels my understanding of this unborn animal's chalev. So certainly according to my opinion, the chalev of an unborn is classified as chalev. Higher the istra krolim utim. That explains why the pasuk has to go and rule it out, lest I think otherwise. Elul didach am istra kro. According to you, it's anyways not chalev. Why would the pasuk have to rule it out from the mizbeach? Amalei says, guess what? I'm coming from right here. I'm learning from this pasuk, and that it's not regarded as chalev. I'm coming. This is my source. Time in the day, my opinion. Nami also mihacha is coming from right here. Right on. There's another version of this machlekes, of this back and forth. It was a question posed by Rish Lakish actually against Rabbi Yochanan. Esrei Rabbi Shimon Lakish Rabbi Yochanan from this very brayso. Ma chayla v'shtei haklois hamur is ba'asham mutzah b'chlal shlila av kol mutzah b'chlal shlila. So basically, the pasuk is ruling out the chayla of a shlila from the mizbeach. So bishlam, according to me, it works out very well. That explains why the pasuk rules it out. This qualifies it because it's not classified as chayla. Hell did duck, but according to your understanding. Likarev, why not put it on the mizbeach? It's regular chaylev. Amalei says, yeah, it is, but it's still not regular. You know, you can have a perfect sheep, but if it's too young, let's say less than 7 days, you can't bring it on the mizbeach. So sometimes prematurity can be, interfering factor at play. So although this chaylev inside is technically chaylev, but it's not good for the mizbeach. Here comes another interesting scenario. Mother animal that contained this full-term 9-month fetus inside of it happened to be a treifa. Now we know that shchita on a treifa will not permit it for consumption, but will spare it from tumah, as per the Mishnah a couple of days ago. He did shchita on the treifa, a mother animal, and discovered this full term inside, which typically would be covered by the mother's shchita if it was a proper shchita. But in this case, it wasn't a proper shchita, it was only a partial shchita, it only accomplished something. Spares it from tumah, but does not render it edible. So what happens to this ben pekua? Nishtaher. He can't really tap into the mother's shchita, which is not a full shchita. So now, okay, let's go back to basics. We have a machlekes, right? Full term ben pekua, what happens? Rabbi says, you have to shecht it anew. It's not covered by the mother's shchita. According to that opinion, matter. It's perfectly fine if it has its own shchita. So the mother's, partial shchita, so to speak, was not detrimental to the ben pekua, who was his own guy. However, according to the Chacham, that the mother's shchita typically covers the ben pekua. Problem is, in this case, the mother's shchita was not a fully successful shchita because it was done on a treifa. Oiser! You can't eat the ben pekua. And you can't do another shchita on the ben pekua. It doesn't require shchita. Shchita is not relevant to him. Rava Amari says no. Even l'divrei hamater, according to the Chachamim, who typically consider the ben pekua covered by the mother. So although in this case the mother's shchita was not what you would call a successful shchita, nami mutter, the ben pekua could be mutter through his own shchita. Because the mother's shchita does not preclude doing shchita on the ben pekua. We had this the other day. Dalit simonim. It's an expression. It's like you would have 4 tubes. Achshe parshanut-torah allows, meaning you have 2 options. You can do shchita on the mother's 2 simonim or on the ben pekua's 2 simonim. If one doesn't work, you do the other one, such as in this case. Further on this case, hashechet is a treifa. Okay, again, umatzah b'ben taschai, same story. We turn to Talmud Bavli. Ton shchita, so you have to do shchita on the ben pekua, as we explained. V'chayav b'zroya, v'luchayim v'akeva, and of course it's a proper shchita on the ben pekua. You treat it like any other, and you have to give the kohen what he deserves, the arm, the l'chayim, the keva, like any other shchita. And here comes the surprising fact. V'yimeis, now if the ben pekua happened to die before shchita, not to worry, he's not going to be matami b'masa. If you pick it up, you're not tummy. This seems like a straight-out contradiction. Amalei Rabba's response to Rav Chizda. How do you reconcile both sides of your statement? Here you say ton shchita, that the ben pekua needs its own shchita, presumably like Rav Meir. The Gemara at this point is thinking that we're going like Rav Meir, Rav Meir, who says that ben pekua in this state is not covered by the mother because it's full term. Then you say v'yemeis, but if he died before shchita, don't worry. He's not going to be matami. He's not a tumah generator, which sounds like you want the Karabanan who say that the ben pekua does not need shchita at all. So he's already shechted by the mother, so he's not going to be an avail if he dies. Straight out contradiction within your own statement. So he says, according to you, how are you going to explain Rav Chia's brayso? Hadatan Rav Chia. Rav Chia is almost word for word. Hashakos hatreifa, matzah beben teschai, ton shchita, word for word. V'chai b'sroya, v'chayim v'akeva, v'meis tar melatam b'masa. Exactly as I said. How are you going to understand that price? Because on the one hand, he's saying ton shchita. The Ben Pekua needs his own shchita. That seems like Rameir. Come on, Rameir. And then you say v'meis, but even if he dies without shchita, not to worry. He's already shechted through his mother. Tar melatam b'masa is no tumas masa. That's K'Rabbana. Sounds like the Rabbana speaking. So how would you understand that? Oh, he says, okay, I can figure that out. Look, halakasha. Here's an answer. Rav Chia meant im kvar matzah meis ka'amar. He's going like Rav Meir. A full-term Ben Pekua needs his own shchita. When he says that if he dies, he's okay, he meant to say if he was discovered lifeless within the mother. He hadn't been born yet. So in that case, even Rav Meir agrees, right? Any lifeless ubar in the mother, irrespective of his development stage, is covered by the mother's shchita. In matzah, in kvar matzah meis ka'amar, he meant he already found him mace in the mother. So Rav Chia's statement is very easy to understand. El dedach kasha, but your statement I don't understand. When you say the Ben Pekua needs shchita, that sounds like Rav Meir. Then when you say when he dies, don't worry, that sounds like the Rabbanah. He's very shechted. Amarle, he says, guess what? Let me explain to you what I meant. I'm going like the Rabbanan. Full-term Ben Pekua is covered by the mother. But you have an option of doing his own shchita, like we said before. I can fully understand. I fully explain what I said too. Dalid simanim ach shavei rachmana. You can shecht two different ways. You can shecht to the mother, you can shecht to himself. So although he's not required to have shchita, because once the mother was shechted, he's covered, but if he decides, he chooses to do shchita on the Ben Pekua, you can do so. Right, so in this case, where the right, let's go back to the beginning. The case was it was a treifa, right? The mother was a treifa. So in this case, it doesn't really permit the Ben Pekua. So what do? You quickly grab a knife and you do shchita on the Ben Pekua. So despite the fact that he already experienced somewhat of shchita through the mother, that's not going to interfere. It's not going to inhibit you from doing another shchita on the actual Ben Pekua. And once you do it, the Ben Pekua is mutter, and we treat it like any other shchita. Okay, so we had an interesting chiddush today. Full-term Ben Pekua, according to Rav Meir, is not covered by the mother shchita. According to Rabbanan, it can be covered. That's one option. Another option is you can do shchita on the uber itself, if you choose to do so. In fact, there was a story, Kisolok Rab Zera. When Rab Zera traveled up to Eretz Yisrael, Ashechem, some change it to Rabbi Asi. Rabbi Asi meets up with Rab Zera and hears him speaking. The Yosef Akami is sitting and saying over Leila Hashmaita. This whole back and forth between Rav Chizda's statement, Rabbi's challenge, back and forth, and the conclusion that there was two shchita options. Amar later of Asi turned to Rab Zera, Yishar, right on, like Yashar Koyach, right? V'chein Amar Rabbi Yechon, in fact, Rabbi Yechon also aligns himself with that thinking that there are 4 simanim, there are 2 options of shchita. Now the fact that he's quoting Rabbi Yechonon, does that indicate that there was this difference of opinion, that perhaps Rish Lakish, who very often challenged Rabbi Yechonon, in fact disagreed with him on this concept? That was Rab Zera's question back. Mechlal the Palagalir of Shimon Lakish, do you mean that Rab Lakish disagreed? So Rabbi says, I'm not sure, because I was in the Beis Medrash, when Rabbi Yechon and Rish Lakish were there and discussing it, but I walked out, and I'm not sure if he responded. Mishha haveshohele v'shasekle. Rashi says it was Rish Lakish's practice to, remain silent for a while. After, Rabbi Yechon said his thing, he would just listen and, wait him out, hoping that perhaps he would change his mind before he has to, take him on and challenge him. So Ravasi says I left the Beis Medrash, in that interim time, and I'm not sure if ultimately he turned around and argued with him. Some say Mishtah V'Shasile, that it turns out Rish Lakish was having a drink at that point, and Beis Medrash V'Shasaklei, hence his silence. I'm not sure what happened afterwards. Okay, so we're not sure if there was a dissenting view. Back to the Mishnah. Full term Ben Pekur, discovered in the mother after Shechita. Tanna Kama says not to worry, it's covered. Likewise, Rabbi Shimon Shazuri, even if it's 5 years old, big husky animal running around the field, no worries. Now, isn't that exactly what the Tanna Kama is saying? Tanna Kama, any difference between Tanna Kama who permits the Ben Pekur and the Rabbi Shimon Shazuri? Amar Rav Kahana, there's a difference. Hifras al gabe karka. Suppose the Ben Pekur was born. Hifras means he took a step on the floor. That would be the difference over here. According to Tanna Kama, even though he's covered by the mother, but midrabanan, rabbinically we're concerned about appearance, about misunderstanding, the misconceptions. People see an animal running around just being eaten like that without shechita. It'll confuse things. So once it's out on the ground, you gotta treat it like any other animal. Do shechita midrabanan. Shimon Shazuri says no. Perhaps he says, he feels that it's noted and people will realize, and even if it's old and running around, you can do without shechita. Amarav Misharshia. There's a difference of opinion whether we reckon with the father animal's contribution to the offspring. If you say that we do reckon with him, so what happens if it's a Ben Pekur, a male Ben Pekur who does not need shechita, a Baal Behema Malasa, who got involved with a regular female animal who needs shechita? What happens to the offspring? What's the status of the offspring? So from his mother's side he needs shechita, from his father's side he does not need shechita. He's sort of in limbo. Havla, this offspring is stuck. There's no remedy. Because it's like he's half shechted. Half shechted 2 years ago by the father, and now he needs the other half. And you can't, actually says you can't make such a big pause between the two tubes. So he's in limbo. You can't shecht him, you can't not shecht him. Amar Abaye, Yakol Moedim, even those that are concerned about Marasa Ayin, and don't want to permit just a regular Ben Pekur that's running around without shechita, lest people get confused. But if it's something really abnormal, something outstanding, something which stands out and just people take note of it, in that case, people will be mindful that in fact this is a Ben Pekur, and we'll realize why you're eating it without shechita, and there's no room for confusion. All agree B'Kol Ben Pekur. If he's a Ben Pekur that's also clefted, his hooves are clefted or unsplit, which is something unusual by a cow, by a sheep. In this case, you can eat them without shechita even later on. My time of why? Kol Musa, that to me is something which is wondrous and abnormal and strange. People are mindful of it and they'll realize, oh yeah, this is the strange animal, this is Ben Pekur, I understand why they're eating it without shechita. Some say you need a double abnormality. One is not enough. All agree, Ben Pekur. If he's a clefted, the son of a clefted Ben Pekur, then it's okay. Shemutter, it's mutter later on. My time and why? To me, when there's a double wonderment, mitchar the chirinchi, people will take notice. Amar Abaye. And remember, Amar Abaye. Sorry, Amar Ziri. Amar B'chanina halachah b'shimon shazuri. So regarding this general question, how far do we take the Ben Pekur heter? Is it only if it's still in the mother's stomach and it's just being taken out like that, or even if it's actually been born and running around? According to Tanna Kama, once he gets up on his legs, Amad Parsoisav, too late. According to Rav Shimon Shazur, even if he's standing on his own feet, he's a Ben Pekur, it's mutter. How do we paskin? Amar Ziri, Amar B'chanina, halacha. We paskin Rav Shimon Shazuri that it's okay. V'chein haya, Rav Shimon Shazuri matter. Rav Shimon Shazuri would extend the heter and permit consumption without shechita of a fully mature, fully grown Ben Pekur all the way down the generations. Not only the original Ben Pekur, even his offspring and his offspring's offspring. Even though it's so far from the original. Because he's part of the Ben Pekur lineage. He does not need shechita. Rabbi Yechon Amar, no, that's going too far. Who mutar? Even according to Shimon Shazuri, only the original one is okay. Presumably people realize why. But Ubnai Asr, the next generation is Asr. We had a story of Adar Bar Chavu, who owned an animal. Havel ben Pekua, he had a ben Pekua in his herd. The Nafal Duba or Diba, a wolf, attacked it, alay, and punctured its internal organs, made it a treifa. Now, a treifa is only concerned by a regular, typical animal where shechita is required, and that's the exclusive, mode of life termination, which is halachically permissible, versus if it's injured and rendered lifeless or partially lifeless by the treifa experience, that's an interfering factor that makes it asr. But by a ben pekul, which does not require shechita to begin with, so the treifa experience does not render it asr. Interesting, right? It's like a piece of meat. So that's what happened. Also, coming to Rav Ashi, so they only came to Rav Ashi. Amalei zil shachta, he says quickly shacht it. Again, minat Torah, there's no shechita by ben pekul, but Rabbanan, we need shechita because it's already, walking around. And interestingly, even though in this case he's already a treifa, what good is shechita on a treifa? Yeah, typically it's not, but here it doesn't really require shechita minat Torah. It's just for appearance's sake. In order to address the appearance concern, it will be sufficient to do shechita even on a treifa. Interesting. So now people see it's shachted, and it's okay. Amar Leis, he says, why bother with shechita? Ha'amar Ziri, Amar Chanina, we paskin like halach Reb Shimon Shazuri. Even if it's fully grown, running around, it's a ben pekua. Don't eat shechita. V'chein ha'yar Reb Shimon Shazuri mater, he would allow even further down. The offspring, the grandchildren of the ben pekua, ben b'nei, ansef k'ladoris, until way down the line. I feel Rabbi Yechon like Amar l'b'nai, even Rabbi Yechonan limited it to the b'nai, to the first generation, aval ihu loy, but the original ben pekua, he's free without shechita. Amar Leis, he says, no, it's not so simple. Even Rabbi Yechonan didn't really adopt this lenient opinion of Reb Shimon Shazuri. He was just explaining how far Reb Shimon Shazuri takes it. Rabbi Yechonan, divrei, Reb Shimon Shazuri Ka'amar, he was just elaborating Reb Shimon Shazuri's opinion, but he himself concurred with the other shita. In this case, there's a problem of maras ha'ayin. We don't just eat it without shechita. Ask the Gemara of Amar Ravin Bar Chanina, Amar Ula, Amar Bar Chanina. Halacha K'Shim Shazuri. So we do paskin K'Shim Shazuri. And furthermore, Elokol Malkim Shishana Rabbi Shimon Shazuri was saying, wherever you find this opinion, this Tana now Mishnayis, wherever it is, Halkamai, so we paskin like that shita. So why is this different? Amar Leisi says, I have a different view regarding when we paskin like Rabbi Shimon Shazuri. Anoki hasvirli, I paskin, I have a different perspective, Rabbi Yonason, that in very select cases, Allah Rabbi Shimon Shazuri in two cases, Mesukun, a case of Mesukun, Ubetrum Esmais Shadmai coming up in a second. So only in those cases we paskin like him, but not in the case of Ben Pekua or otherwise. Hence, shechita is required. What are these two cases? Okay, briefly, Mesukun means a fellow who's dangerously ill. The Snan, we have a Mishnah, but I mean, initially they would say, the person being carried out by chains, by the authorities. Rashi says for capital punishment, and he quickly calls out instructions, write a get for the wife. V'amar, he says, kiss at least write a get for my wife, but he failed to instruct him to give it, to deliver it, which is very important. Don't worry, just write it and give it. That's what he meant. So we interpret it as such. And then they came and they added more cases of people that are preoccupied and haphazard. A person on the way out to sea, on his way out with the caravan. So since he's in an unsettled frame of mind, he failed to express himself articulately, but he meant to say, write and deliver. Shimon Shazuri adds one more point. If I'm a person is dangerously ill, same story. So we paskin like that. And the second case was Trumas Maser Shal Dmai. So Dmai is produce purchased from an unlearned fellow who may or may not have fulfilled his Truma and Master obligations, separating the parts that belong to the Kohen. So there's a din midrabanan, we require to do it just in case. And let's say you did separate Trumas Master of the Dmai, and then, whoop, it fell back into the basket. Now you have a problem, you have a mix between something which is forbidden for ordinary person, other than a Kohen, and you have the rest, which is regular food. So you're invalidating everything. That's can cause you great loss. So the question is, can I go back to the Amoritz just this time and ask him, do me a favor, my good friend, tell me the truth. Was the material kosher? Did you do the Trumas Maser already, in which case this one was redundant and it just you can just ignore it? Or not? This not, the Mishnah says you could, because we're speaking about a case of potential loss. Trumas Maser Shal Dmai. So the purchaser separated Trumas Maser of this Dmai material. It's called Dmai. Dmai stands for Dmai. What is this? Undefined, status unknown. So he separated, and it slipped back into the mix. Even during the weekdays. You can trust him. Just ask him, and you can eat accordingly. He tells you, look, I'll tell you the truth, I already did the Trumas Maser. Why'd you buy? Okay, then we could just delete the whole thing, and consider the whole thing to be kosher. And even during the weekdays, Rashi says, because on Shabbos, actually, it says that you can, if you get stuck with Dmai, you can ask him, and you can trust him. Mishum Kavod Shabbos. To enable you to have it on Shabbos, Kavod Shabbos, to eat the food on Shabbos. Tosfos adds from the Yerushalmi, he says, Shabbos, all of the fear of Shabbos, the awe of Shabbos, is upon the Amoritz. He won't lie on Shabbos. Imagine. Amolaga Amoritz, he wouldn't lie on Shabbos. So that's basic. On Shabbos, certainly you can trust him. But here we're talking even on a regular Tuesday. But since it involves hefsed, the big hefsed here, big potential loss, so you can trust him. In any case, in these two cases, we adopt Rav Shimon Shazuri's view, but not regarding the Ben Pekul running around. In that case, we're concerned about Maris Ayin, and Shchita is required. Let's do a quick Chazara of today's daf. We discussed the full-term Ben Pekul discovered inside the mother after Shchita. According to some Shitas, it's a Makabal Tumah. Makabal Tumah, even though it's alive. We treat it like a piece of meat. And that corresponds with Beis Shammai regarding the fish right out of the water. It's also considered Eichel Makabal Tumah. We had a shadow regarding fish which became a treifa, status of chelev within the unborn ubar. We had a chiddush according to Rabbanan. Although a full-term Ben Pekul is covered by the mother shchita, but you have the option of doing shchita directly on the ubar if the mother shchita was not successful. For instance, it was a shchita of a treifa. Daled simonim achsha berachmana. We have three shitas regarding the full-term Ben Pekul, covered by the mother shchita or not. Rabbi says not covered. Tanakama says covered, provided it was not hifris al gabi karka, it didn't stand on the floor, because in that case it appears like a regular animal, and midrabanan you need shchita, whereas Rav Shimon Shazuri says even if it's 5 years old, big husky bull running around, plowing the fields, shchita is not required. According to Abaye, all agree, if it's a strange phenomenon, a color, or a double strangeness, all agree, even Tanakama would be okay without shchita, because people remember, they recall, this is something abnormal. There's no room for confusion. All the best to you, and that's